Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews, and it's actually a pretty light week, pretty small week, but we do have a giant omnibus that came out this week, so we'll start with that. So we have the ROM Omnibus Volume 2. It's the Marvel years. This covers this covers issues 30 through 50, annuals 1 and 2, and it also includes Marvel 2 in 1. There's a lot to digest here, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. ROM, for simple terms, was a Parker Brothers toy that was an action figure, and the really big thing about it is he had LED lights, and he had a gun and stuff. Really, the toy didn't do too much. He had 4 joints, his legs and everything just moved like this. But it was really neat because he made sounds and stuff like that. So Marvel had made a deal with Parker Brothers, who at the time was the owner of that IP, and Bill Mantlo, who had created Rocket Raccoon, was doing a lot of Marvel books. Him and Sal Buscema basically created this whole universe for ROM, and the villains, the race. They had infiltrated Earth, and he was on Earth to try to find them. So in these issues, he comes across the Brotherhood of Evil. There's the Marvel 2 in 1 with him and the Thing, Ben Grimm, and so it's about his journey of trying to find the race and eradicate them from the Earth. That's the basic premise here. I have to admit, considering the toy had no story whatsoever, Mantlo really did a good job. Let me go through, before I get any further, the credits on here. Bill Mantlo wrote almost all the stories. Then there was the annuals that were written by Mark Grunwald, Stephen Grant, and Bob Harris. The main artist on most of the regular issues were Sal Buscema, and then for the annuals it was Pat Broderick, Bob Hall, Greg Larroquette, and Bob Harris. So those are the artists. There were many inkers, but those were the main pencilers and artists on it. I was a really big fan of the book when it originally came out. It was one of my childhood comics. And once again, it's actually held up really well. I think the big thing is Mantlo came up with a really good premise for the character and gave it much more depth than it would have ever had. So they're a little pricey. I know it's $125 omnibus, but they're well worth it. They've done a really nice job on reprinting them. There's some extra bonus stuff in the back that some of the stuff's never been reprinted before because of copyright reasons, like the Marvel Universe Index cover had ROM on it, and now they obviously can't reprint. They couldn't reprint that in the past, but now they can because they made a deal with Hasbro, who now owns ROM. So if you're a fan of ROM, definitely check it out. I liked it, and to me it was obviously I was very excited to get it. So first up for the comics, we have Destro number 1, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Andre Bresson. So this kind of comes after the Cobra Commander series, where at the end of that, the miniseries, Cobra Commander gets hooked up with Destro. He's the man behind Mars Industry. Kind of think of it like he's kind of an arms dealer in simple terms. And so what it is he, Cobra Commander gives him Energon so it powers his battle armor troopers, which are still in beta phase, and they work, but they end up quelching a government, and because Destro wants to take it over, except for it just kills people. It doesn't discern between the good guys and bad guys. It just kills everybody. So they're still in prototype stage. And so also Cobra Commander is kind of figuring out he has to be careful with Destro because there's an uneasy alliance there. The Destro may want power, and there's going to be a battle for power. And so that's the basic premise there. I have to say this was kind of a bit disappointing. I don't think it was terrible by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that it was okay. And considering the other books in the Energon universe from Skybound, it became kind of disappointing. I mean, the artwork by Bresson is nice, and Waters' script is good. I think it's just very basic. It's like, okay, there was kind of nothing surprising about it. It felt very basic and there wasn't anything that like, oh, that's a surprise. It's just like, okay, here's like a bad guy G.I. Joe story. That was the thing. So we'll kind of see what the second issue brings, but overall, this first issue didn't really knock my socks off. I think it was okay, but it was, compared to the other one, it was a little disappointing. Next up, we have Bear Pirate Viking Queen number 2, written by Sean Lewis, with artwork by Jonathan Marks Barifsha. I know I messed that up. I apologize in advance. So what it is the Viking has taken control of the ship, and he's heading to England because there's something there that he's looking for, and so basically he's also going to go to war with the Queen. So that's the basic premise of this issue. I don't want to really give any too many details away, because there's a lot of layers to the story that's really good. Lewis's script is really interesting. It really built nicely on that first issue. And Jonathan Marks' artwork is really fantastic. It's watercolor. It's just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous looking book. And like I said, the first issue was kind of wild and crazy, but the second issue really solidifies the insanity of like the story. But the story made sense in the first issue, but this second issue builds really nicely on that first issue, and I really enjoyed this book. Definitely well worth checking out. Next up, we have Wonder Woman number 10, written by Tom King, with artwork by Daniel Sampierre. And then the backup, World's Finest Part 7, written by Tom King, with artwork by Belen Ortega. So this is the final chapter of the let me look it up, the Sacrifice finale, where Wonder Woman was captured, and they're trying to break her. So the final try to break her is send her to an island with Cheetah, and they just go at it. And Cheetah hasn't been fed for like weeks, and so she's just going to eat Wonder Woman. And once again, I don't want to really say, I don't want to give any of the plot away, because there's really a lot of really wonderful stuff in here. But it's kind of one of those things that Cheetah's kind of her really main villain. So it's like how they ultimately, it's like how they yin and yang. Like they'll always fight, and they'll always kind of come to the middle. I mean, that's all I really want to say. But some of the other really fun parts of the story is that the Wonder Girls, Donna, Flora, and Cassie, are, first of all, they're trying to find the invisible jet. They know where it is, but yeah, there's humor in that. I love how King really breaks up the story with kind of the two sides of that story, because they go to rescue Diana on the island, and it really just, once again, it's what I love King is doing with this book is it's really a character study of Wonder Woman, really character first. And I know that some people have really struggled with that, which is a shame, because that's what makes Wonder Woman so great, is her character, and King is really on top of that. And Sampre's artwork is it's gorgeous. He's just a perfect artist for this book. The level of detail he puts into is amazing. The World's Finest Part 7 is Damien and John teaching her to fly a kite, and Trinity to fly a kite, because she's never flown a kite before. They're basically just fighting with each other with words, like, oh, you suck, it's kind of the brotherly love sort of thing. And so let's say they go get an expert to help Trinity to fly a kite. That's all I'm going to say. Another win for the backup. Ortega just knocks it out of the park with the artwork. She is on fire with these. I love these backups. They're absolutely amazing and just total joy, and really complement the main story, because not so much because King's writing it, that has a lot to do with it, but it really fits in with what he's doing in the main story. So definitely really love this book. Definitely another one of the pick of the weeks. Next up, we have Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime, number 1, written by Jason Aaron, with artwork by Paulo Morta, Francisco Di Apolito, doing pencils, Lucio Di Giuseppe doing the inks, Alessandro Pastorofcio and Vitel Magnatorti doing the artwork. And Guida Pacentio doing the artwork. I know I've butchered a lot of those Italian names. Apologies in advance. So the basic premise here is that Uncle Scrooge is, he discovers like the original dime that he got has powers, and it's kind of like the Infinity Gauntlet. It has magical powers. So what he starts doing is taking all the vaults, the money vaults from all the different Scrooges over time, over in different universes, and has one giant, he tries to collect all the money in the world, or all in the universe, basically. And so that's the basic premise. And so what it is the Uncle Scrooges have to go and fight the evil Uncle Scrooge to kind of fix everything. That's the basic premise there. Unfortunately, and I forgot to say there's a reprint of Donald Duck number 178, Christmas on Bear Mountain, written and drawn by Carl Barks. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I almost forgot to include that. So really, I want to preface this that Jason Aaron writes a kind of a forward to the story, saying how he's a huge Duck fan and how he loves Carl Bark and Don Rosa, and how he used to read him to his kid, and his kid loves Uncle Scrooge. Unfortunately, that's a great story, but it's almost like he didn't understand what, like Carl Barks and then later Don Rosa did with the Ducks, where part of the problem that I had with this story, it's way more complicated than it needs to be. And there's also way too much dialogue. And also when you get to the artwork, and I certainly do not blame the artist because this is in the script, there's just too much going on. And some of the panels there's just too much going on. And then the coloring is just kind of garish. It just, I think the biggest problem is they're trying to make like Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie into this like Marvel superhero comic. And it's like, this does not work. It does not, they don't feel like any of the characters, and it's just really disappointing. I don't think it was unreadable or anything like that. And there are some parts of the artwork. I think the artwork is nice considering what they had to do with the script. That's my opinion on that. I don't think the artwork's terrible. I think it started with just a disastrous script, and it just went downhill from there. And then when you go and you read, Christmas on Bear Mountain by Carl Barks, you understand why those comics, that and later Don Rosa, when he did his Uncle Scrooge comics, that you understand what Jason Aaron totally missed on the story and somewhat the artwork because of the way he wrote the story. It's not so much that Carl Barks made a simple story. It's just that there's a lot of depth to it with, but being very simple at the same time. So it's, the story is pretty basic for that, the Christmas on Bear Mountain, but it's also fun and charming. And it just seems, while being simple, has much more depth to it, where it was kind of, it was made for kids, but there's kind of a bit more depth to it. There's that, kind of like you can see past the simple parts of the story. And unfortunately, especially at $8, this book was really disappointing. I was really looking forward to it, but the main story was just a mess, and it's very sad. But I would say it's a pass this week, unless if you're not really familiar with the other stuff, you might like it. That's all I can say. But if you know any of the Carl Barks or the Don Rosa stuff, yeah, you're gonna be really disappointed in this. Next up, we have Self-Help number 1, written by Owen King, with artwork by Jesse Kellerman. So what this is Jerry Hauser's down on his luck guy. He's divorced, and he's making a living as an Uber driver, because it's down his luck, everything's tough, and so he constantly gets mistaken for this self-help guru Darren Hart, And so you see, Darren Hart's kind of a spoiled rich kid in some respects. That's the easiest way to describe his character. So they end up actually meeting because Hart's Tesla breaks down, so he has to get an Uber to this meeting he has to go to, and Hauser picks him up, and they notice that they look a lot like each other, and then there's something that happens with Hart, which I will not spoil, but it kind of changes the trajectory of Hauser's life. I shall put it that way. Once again, it kind of started off pretty basic and everything, but I think what King did here, and once again, it's a great twist at the end, and you can see that twist kind of being set up in the book, so it's not like a surprise, which is smart. It's just it was really like, oh, I like that. It's kind of that kind of somewhat twist ending where it's not a shock, but it's like, oh, okay, I like where this is going to go. And then Kellerman's artwork's nice. I mean, once again, it's a lot of people standing around, sitting around talking, and does a nice job of building up the story within the art. So I liked it. I think it's worth checking out this week. Next up, we have Nightwing number 115, written by Tom Taylor, with artwork by Bruno Redondo. So Heartless is seeking revenge against Dick Grayson, and so they were at a charity event. There was a fire that was started. The Heartless started the fire. So basically, what he ends up doing is he drugs Dick, and then frames him as the Heartless. To get revenge. That's the basic story here. I don't want to say too much. I've given a little bit too much away, but it's not a surprise. But Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo this is their final story arc for the book, and they're really the Heartless has been there pretty much from the beginning. This is a big story that's been building up, and I really like how they're pulling off this last story. If they're gonna go, they're going out with a bang, and that is what I think we all want and hoped for. So I love this book. I'm really sad that they're going to be leaving the book, but I'd rather them leave the book on a high note than just kind of keep going on. It's just not working anymore. So definitely continue to buy Nightwing. I love this book. Next up, we have Uncanny Valley number 3, written by Tony Fleece, with artwork by Dave Wachter. So Oliver and his grandpa have gone to basically the Toon World. And so what it is the first is hunting Oliver down, because obviously he's a hybrid and there's something special about him. So the Heartless has sent kind of Toon villains to go after him, and they're getting ready to capture him. And then the Toon heroes come to help. Now, a lot of these Toons are kind of loosely based. There's a what I say is a speed buggy type or turbo teen, if you remember that. I'm not going to say anymore if you don't. Character. There's a robot that looks a lot like Gigantor. And then we have a fairy who is kind of like a Tinkerbell kind of thing. And then there's like the big bad wolf for the villain. So basically they kind of get in a battle, and Oliver is really kind of starting to learn how he's kind of half human and half Toon, and how he can defend himself. And we've seen that in the previous issues. I'm really liking this book. I like what Fleece is doing here. I think the concept is really very unique. And the big win for this book is Wachter's artwork, where he's able to kind of draw like Oliver as like a normal person, but he does these cartoony characters, and really it all fits in very well. And I also like the fact that the Toon world kind of looks real. It's not like a total cartoon. I mean, it's kind of a mix between the real world and a Toon world, and I like that look. I think that's a smart look. So that way it's just not a complete distraction visually. A smart move on Wachter's part, I think. But I really enjoy this book. It's a lot of fun, and each issue's building really nicely on the other. So I'm digging it. You should really check out this book. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. Next up, we have Ultimate Spider-Man number 6, written by Jonathan Hickman, with artwork by Marco Cicchetto. Yes, Cicchetto is back. So this issue, Peter and the Green Goblin go up against Fisk, Kingpin, And they kind of get the snot beat out of him because Fisk is ready for them. He knows that they're coming. So there's that part of the story, but we also get to the part where, Peter comes home and he's not looking good. He's gotten the snot beat out of him and his face is all messed up. So he basically has to spill the beans of what's going on. And there's a really funny thing with his daughter who knew that he was Spider-Man. I'm not going to spoil it, but that was a lot of fun. I really like what Hickman is doing with the family, with MJ and the kids, and also how he's handling all these characters, like how the Green Goblin is, right now he's kind of a hero because he's working with Peter, but ultimately is he going to be a hero? Is he going to be a bad guy? We don't know. But I like how he's not trying to reinvent the wheel here. He's just kind of changing perspectives on things, like having Peter married to MJ. And I really like this. I wouldn't say this is the end of the first story arc, because I still think there's more. It's kind of building. So I think this is, to me, it seems a bit of a halfway point of maybe the first story arc. But, but I like what they're doing, and they continue to just build nicely on this book. And Chichetto's artwork is really amazing. It is just really just outstanding. It's really a fun book, and I've been really pleasantly surprised because I haven't been reading Spider-Man for a long time, and this is really nice and a good thing for like new readers. Next up, we have Helen of Windhorn, number 3, written by Tom King, with artwork by Biliquis Evely. So Helen has kind of discovered that her grandfather, who owns the Wyndhorn mansion and grounds, that he kind of has this story where he's kind of like almost like like a fantasy story. Like her dad, who's passed away, has written written science fiction stories, but we find out that those stories were actually true. They just seem to be science fiction. And so Helen goes on a journey with her grandfather to on the Wyndham grounds, and they kind of go through this portal where there's even more. There's like another world on the other side. And so the main reason that they've gone there is to see Lady Hearth, who's like, I guess you could say Mother Earth or goddess or something, something like that. And I don't want to spoil it anymore, but it's a really neat journey. And we also kind of get to learn a little bit more about her grandfather, and we also kind of get to see Helen kind of, she's growing up and kind of becoming the woman that she needs to be instead of the kind of spoiled, drunk brat, that she has been. I'm really liking what they're doing with this. It's kind of like, there's a little bit of like Conan thrown in there, Robert Howard, type stuff. And just, it's really amazing. And I love how King's building the story. This third issue really builds nicely on it. Evely's artwork is just incredible. This is a gorgeous looking book. And it's got a great story to go with it. So it's a perfect match. It's the same, same team who did Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which was amazing. Definitely continue to pick this book up. I really, really like it a lot. And finally, this week we have Disney's Hercules number 3, written by Elliot Kalan, with artwork by George Kambidas. So Aphrodite and Hephaestus have gone missing. And so Herc and Meg go out to find them. They run across Artemis, and they get attacked by harpies, and then Artemis gets kidnapped. So we slowly find out that it appears, and there's been a lot of breadcrumbs for this. It looks like Hades is behind this. Why he's capturing the gods is unknown. We don't know that, but it's kind of an interesting story. I like how it definitely feels like the movie, but Kalan is, building like within this universe, and Kambidas does a really nice job of capturing that animated spirit of the original film. I like it. I think it does help if you're a fan of the Hercules animated film, but it's a fun little story. Look, this is an all ages book. Is the story the most mind-numbing thing I've ever read? No, but it's fun, it's charming, and I like the fact that it is it's simple but has a depth to it, which is really good for an all ages book. And that's really what this is kind of aimed for. It's an all ages book, so it's not Shakespeare by any stretch of the imagination, but it shouldn't be. And like I said, it's got a good solid story, really nice artwork, and it's a solid all ages book that both, I think, young and old will enjoy. So that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. I don't think we missed anything this week. I know the bear, Viking bear thing was a little late, so sorry about that, but we wanted to catch up with that. As always, public service announcement, I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. It's a great store. Ryan, the owner, there's Annie, there's Wendy, there's Derek who runs their socials. Just to let you know, on June 26th, next Wednesday, they're having their first Pride signing event. There's some great guests. I'll put up the picture of the guests that have been confirmed so far. He's trying to get more, but it's really going to be a good thing. If you're in the Long Beach, California area, come and stop by. There's going to be some great signings, and Ryan's been really trying to beef up the LGBTQ books. There's a lot of great LGBTQ books out there, and it's just, once again, he's just trying to expand what makes a good comic shop. You have the Marvel and DCs. He's been beefing up his all ages area. His manga selection's really good. He supports local artists in comics. Definitely, if you're in the area, please stop by. I think it's gonna be a really great night. I'll be there, so definitely come by and check it out. And as always, we end our show with be kind to each other, and be kind to yourself. I know things are tough out there. Make sure you take care of yourself. It's very important. While also being kind to others. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. Opening a door, saying hello, acknowledging existence. Kindness goes a long way, and we just need a lot more kindness right now. So that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comments are appreciated, and just thanks for watching. And please also share our videos so we can get so I can get more subscribers. That would always be great. That's always helpful. So anyways, thanks for watching. We'll do it again next week. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.